Story 1. I do not know if life gets better or if you get better. I have struggled with depression for most of my life. My mental toils grow stronger with every other struggle I must face. Summers used to make me very content because I could focus only on work and earning money. College was horrible. It took almost 6 years, and I pictured my diploma as a giant question mark instead of a mark of success. I was tired, angry, and overwhelmed. I thought about killing myself a couple of times because of the strain, but I also thought that if I had killed myself, I would never have known whether I would finish school. School was very difficult to complete. Your whole life you hear that a degree brings happiness and success. It did not, but school is finished. Do I have a career to show for it? A new car and a house? No, I have debt, but at the same time I feel carefree. So to answer your question, depression might not go away completely, but you will mature and things will get easier. It is never truly gone. Story 2. You cannot live a meaningful life in a single day, but you can make each day slightly better. Strive for a better day by starting with one conversation and one relationship at a time. Give yourself time to grow and to see results. Consistent effort is what it takes to improve. Story 3. I'm late, so this will probably get buried. In 2008, I lost my job. All I could get right away was McDonald's, so I took it, but it was not enough to pay all my bills. My car was repossessed, I was kicked out of my apartment, and I found out my girlfriend was cheating on me, all within the space of a month. It was the lowest period of my life. I struggled with depression and considered suicide. I was homeless, but I had good friends who gave me a place to stay, so I was never actually on the streets. Took a while, but today I have a good job. I apprenticed in the tool and die trade, and I make good money for a man who barely graduated high school and never went to college. I am married, and my home life is stable. It is not perfect, life never is, but I am far better than I was. I hope everyone in this thread who is struggling can find better days as well. Edit, this blew up. It became my most upvoted comment and received awards. I am glad many people found this inspiring. Story 4. I saw some of these mentioned in other comments, so I will make a list. A previous employer treated my mental health and my work performance as two separate issues, which led to the worst panic attack I have ever experienced and a case of burnout I am still wrestling with about 3 years later. Many of these suggestions come from what I had to fight through over those years. Counseling and therapy. Professional help is usually best, but you may need to shop around for a therapist you work well with. If that is not possible, try talking to a family member or a very close friend, someone you can talk to about anything, even if it is just to vent. I live alone but have a dog, a service dog in training. I have talked to her a few times and that helped. Avoid staying at home all day. The simple act of walking out the door lifted a huge weight off my chest, put a little spring in my step, and made it easier to feel more like my old self. Hang out with friends. Keep devoting time to hobbies and interests, or go for a walk to clear your head. Even a few minutes at a time is better than nothing. Take time to reflect. This has been invaluable for me. As I recovered from bouts of anxiety and depression, the insight I gained helped me learn more from those experiences than if I had simply assumed I was on the road to recovery and pushed the bad stuff out of my head. Find things in your life you have full control over. If they are good, keep them that way or make them better. If they are not so good, mitigate what you can or remove them if possible. I was also in a horribly toxic relationship for most of the last 3 years, so some of what I could say is specific to that situation. But know that you are not alone. Please feel free to send me a direct message if you want or need someone to talk to or someone to listen. Update 1. These are things that have helped me over the years. I do not expect them all to work equally well for everyone. The effectiveness of any one thing varies from person to person. Even if my suggestions do not work for someone else, they might lead that person to a similar habit that does help. A therapist is a professional you go to for help, but family and close friends can also be very important. I was lucky to have friends who reached out periodically and reminded me I could always talk to them, whether to vent or to seek opinions. The therapist I have worked with for several years now is almost like a friend. After seeing therapists who did not help or made things worse, I count myself lucky. The previous employer situation is a longer story. I started having more difficulty keeping up with work while handling increasing stress outside of work. Around the time my boss first expressed concern about my performance, my father called while I was at work to say he might have cancer and left me with very little information for the next month. I told my boss and human resources about the mental health issues that had returned, so everyone knew what was going on and what I was doing to get back on track. 2 weeks later, during my annual performance review, I was placed on a performance improvement plan that gave me 30 days to reach the company's expected level of performance. They could terminate my employment at any point during that 30-day window if they thought I was not going to meet the requirements, and even if I did meet them, there was a provision allowing them to dismiss me without another warning if my performance declined again because of the plan on my record. When I raised the mental health conversation, they argued that mental health and work performance were two separate issues and cited the Americans with Disabilities Act. My doctors disagreed with that interpretation. After that conversation, I returned to my desk and stared at my monitors for half an hour. I could only see colors blending together and could not make out shapes. Still scares me when I think about it. I think burnout started then, if it had not already begun. That made anxiety and depression harder to cope with because writing code, which I had loved for work and fun, began to make me physically lock up every time I tried. My dog then hopped into my lap and got comfortable, which made typing harder. She did get a treat. Update 2. I received community awards. Thank you to everyone who commented and showed kindness. Story 5. Everything in life is temporary, both good times and bad. If you were happy, you would not assume that happiness will last forever. When we are depressed, we tend to think nothing will ever change. That belief is a source of depression. Abandon the narratives you have created for yourself. You are not a weirdo or broken. Most people in your situation would likely become depressed. Hence, it is endemic, and suicide is a leading cause of death among young men. You are a normal person. You are not the problem, the world is. You are reacting appropriately to it. It changed for me when I started to view my depression and anxiety not as a narrative. They were not signs of weakness or failure. They were underlying functional problems with my biology and thinking. There was nothing to be ashamed of. Depression, like all disease, is morally neutral. Risk factors for depression are not personal character flaws. They include lack of physical activity, poor diet, and genetics. None of these are statements about you as a person. It took years, but I slowly changed how I thought. I did cognitive behavioral therapy. I became aware of the thoughts that passed through my head and how those thoughts triggered negative emotions. By observing and discarding those thoughts, I stopped tormenting myself. Be kind to yourself. Give yourself a break. You are going through a really tough time. My rule when talking to myself is never to say anything I would not say to a friend. I am a friend to myself. I take care of myself. I do not tell myself I am pathetic anymore. My therapist used to say, act, don't wait to feel. If you wait until you feel like going out for coffee, you will never go. The act of going is what will make you feel better. Lack of activity is strongly linked to depression. Anxiety often leads to depression because your brain wants to act, but you are too afraid, so you do nothing. That cycle of thinking about doing something and then not doing it sends negative signals. Humans want agency. It is a long road, but you need to learn to love yourself. You are worth it. We all are. We are not weak because of this. One day this rough patch will become your armor. Every time life gets rough, I remind myself it is a cakewalk compared to what I have been through. Literally nothing can hurt me anymore. Story 6. Go to therapy or counseling. The other suggestions are helpful, but I do not think those people understand what it is like to go through depression. You do not simply snap out of it by doing the things they suggested. Find a good therapist. If you cannot afford one, look for support groups of others who are also experiencing depression and talk about your struggles with them. Mental health counseling, along with the other strategies mentioned, can help significantly. Story 7. I agree with much of the previously stated advice. If your loneliness and depression are connected, therapy or counseling would be a good step. You can reframe your alone time. Not all activities have to be done socially. I do not have many friends and never have. One thing I really enjoy is camping or backpacking. It feels good to be out in nature in a place where being alone is not a bad thing. I also garden. It felt great to pick and eat a blackberry from a plant I had cared for since it was a tiny seedling. I respond to many posts on Reddit. Unless your name is your screen name, no one knows who you are and never will. There is a community on Reddit for almost every interest. Often you can find one by searching for a favorite book or television show and joining the conversation. You can connect with people who do not know who you are, do not care, and still accept you. I heard once that people are only normal until you get to know them, and Reddit is a good place to find fellow eccentrics. It is also nice to spoil yourself from time to time. I do this with cooking when my wife is out of town because I am a slightly more adventurous eater and cook than she is. I made coco vin from scratch. I bought the chicken from the store. I did not raise it myself. Took me about 3 hours to prepare and cook, but it tasted great, and I was worth the time. I have 3 dogs and I stop to say hi to every dog I meet. I have always been more of a dog person than a people person. It is comforting how a dog that does not know a thing about me will still wag its tail if I come up to say hello. Dogs are simple and wonderful that way. I am posting comment number 96 on this thread, so keep in mind that you are not really alone. Story 8. Thank you everyone for your support and helpful responses. Your messages showed me that I am not alone. Hearing real stories made me believe I can connect with others who understand. I will read every response. It may take some time, and I apologize if I cannot reply to everyone. Many of you shared your experiences, and that means a great deal to me and to others who are struggling and looking for advice on how to start getting better. I wish you all the best, and I am very grateful for your kindness during this difficult time. Story 9. Relationships happen because you have a life to share, so don't go looking for them. Build a life for yourself first. Self-improvement, exercise, and nutrition. Get a plant or a pet and bond with it so you have responsibility and a reason to become more disciplined. Once you've sorted out the basics, find what would make you happy or proud and actively pursue that dream. Sometimes it helps to remember that you could put yourself in an absolute hell if you let things deteriorate. Spend some time contemplating how easily things could get worse if you did nothing. Don't forget that you have something to contribute to life, even if others do not appreciate it. Every small step helps. Give it time. As a final piece of advice, try a year of yes. If someone asks you to do something and you cannot immediately think of a good reason to say no, say yes and go do it. Story 10. I have been living with severe clinical depression for almost 30 years. In 2 more years, I will reach the 30th anniversary of my first clinical diagnosis. Therapy and medication are the most effective treatments. Exercise and healthy eating help, but not as much as many people assume. They might move you from a 2 to 2.5, but they cannot heal you. Therapy teaches you how to think, and the right medications can help correct brain chemistry. Medications are not an exact science. Some may work in the short term. Others may not seem to help at all until one day they do. Keep an open line of communication with your mental health provider, as they may need to adjust the dosage. Story 11. Some days are better than others. I have good days, bad days, and many mixed days. It is a struggle, but like riding a bike, it takes time and you may fall down. Finding friends in today's society can be really hard. That said, start in places where talking with others is encouraged. Creating meaningful relationships is a two-way street, but in general, it is a lot of stumbling around as you get to know each other and find your comfort zone. Story 12. Think of yourself like a car. A car needs oil, gasoline, brake fluid, transmission fluid, coolant, good tires, and so on. Your body needs 26 vitamins and minerals at 100% of your daily value, ample protein, essential fatty acids, and fiber. It needs daily exercise to rebuild and maintain itself. It needs to be in a good environment to stay in good condition. Can a car drive when all its fluids are at half capacity? Yes, but it will struggle, overheat, and break down faster. Likewise, you can survive with half of your needs, but you will struggle and break down faster than you should. Once you satisfy the basics, you can focus on improving your financial and social situations. There is a reason people usually do not befriend those who are chronically struggling. They can weigh us down with their problems. I have problems too. I cannot take on the problems of a stranger. People will not want to befriend or date you if you cannot manage your problems. It starts with yourself. Self-talk, cognitive behavioral therapy, diet, nutrition, exercise, and health. Health before wealth, all forms of wealth. I call this the whirlwind approach. Start with what is closest to you and move outward. In this case, start with what is in you. You are fundamentally composed of nutrients: protein, fat, minerals, and vitamins. Exercise builds you and helps keep you together. Your thoughts control everything you do and shape your version of reality. Cognitive behavioral therapy and self-talk are important. Medication can be useful. I consider it a bandage or a crutch. These are good things. Medication can help you heal. Some people need more than a bandage or a crutch, obviously. Medication will not cure you, but it can help. You need to take action. Whether you think you can or you think you cannot, you are usually right in about 95% of cases. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting different results. Einstein. Story 13. This is a difficult question to answer, and I wish there were a simple solution. But the reality is that everyone's mental health issues are subtly different. Mental illnesses do not group as neatly as physical illnesses. My wife and her sister both suffer from generalized anxiety disorder, but one has a bit more obsessive-compulsive disorder and the other has a bit more depression. What works for one person's depression might not work for your depression. Main things you need to know and keep telling yourself are: it is not your fault, it is not a weakness, and you are not broken. You have a medical condition that negatively affects your brain. We simply do not understand enough about how the brain works to say exactly what is wrong. Symptoms may come and go, but you can change this pattern and make improvements. Story 14. I'll tell you about myself, and you can draw your own conclusions. I experienced major childhood trauma from verbally and emotionally abusive parents, mainly my father. Things were difficult even before I was born. My mother had anxiety during her pregnancy with me. My parents divorced, money was scarce, and my health declined. I became depressed, very anxious, and struggled a lot. I started working and saved money. The most important thing I did was find a good therapist and work on myself intensely. It was exhausting and overwhelming. I worked on my relationships, my habits, and my personality. Therapy can be expensive, but my therapist was the best investment I made. Since then, my anxiety has decreased, my relationships have improved, and I am in a much better place. The trauma and difficult experiences of 25 years did not disappear after 15 therapy sessions, but I am far better equipped to cope now. We are still not wealthy and still face challenges, but we have finally arrested the decline. You can too. Feel free to message me privately if you need anything. Story 15. To quote a great fictional man, sometimes life is like this tunnel. You can't always see the light at the end of the tunnel, but if you keep moving, you will come to a better place. Iro. A month ago, I didn't think anything was worth it anymore. I remembered this quote and kept moving forward. It took a long time, but I'm finally leaving the job I hate for a job I am actually excited about. Change won't happen overnight, but you have to keep showing up the next day to make progress. Don't be afraid of change. You'll be fine. Story 16. You can find someone or something that makes you happy. Can be a partner or a pet. Maybe a leopard gecko or a cat. A companion that often lives more than 10 years might be a good choice. Find someone to talk to or to hang out with. They do not need to be a romantic partner. Just someone who is open, who can listen, and whom you trust. For me, that would be my gaming buddies I met while playing. If you are alone and very shy, consider a pet. Leopard geckos are inexpensive and low maintenance. There are many other options, but a pet you can hold, pet, and talk to often works wonders and can help build confidence. The important thing is not to be alone. For me, loneliness is the worst because my depression really starts to take hold then. Maybe this helps. It is what I did, and it helped a lot. Story 17. I've been seeing the same therapist since I was 19. I'm now 36. My experience will be different from yours, but I want to share that different stages of life make you think about different things, and lead you to decide whether you can handle the challenges life throws at you. I've never been extremely depressed, but I have had suicidal thoughts or, at the very least, felt like my life was not worth living. It has taken me this long to realize that, even if I have those feelings, nothing prevents me from rejecting them and forging a path for myself through other activities. To be fair, I still do not know if life actually gets better. In some ways I think it has, but in others it may not. I try to get through my days well enough to see the next day and find happiness where I can. It also took time to find the right medication to stop me overthinking everything. My first medication made me drowsy all the time, but we adjusted the dose. From weekly sessions 17 years ago, I now see my therapist every 2 or 3 months for life coaching or as needed when there is a major stressor. I ask for advice to help broaden my worldview. If you ever feel the need to talk or want someone to rant to, I can offer some kind words. Cheers. Story 18. The very first thing you should do, original poster, is learn to like who you are. Only you can decide what you like about yourself and why. That must come before anything else. I do not know your situation, so I will share how I got there. I used to feel the same. I started faking confidence and deliberately found things about myself that I liked. It was difficult, but I made progress. I like that I have blue eyes, even if one is lazy and looks toward my nose. I like that I can grow a full beard, that I am tall, and that I have good manners. Over time, that faked confidence became real, and I began to genuinely like things about myself. It brought me peace and improved my motivation. If you want to try this, start with one small thing each day. Get up, look in the mirror, and name one thing you like about yourself. Say it out loud to yourself, then go about your day. Once you start to like yourself, others will notice. People are drawn to those who are content with themselves and can share that happiness. It does take time, and how long depends on you. In the meantime, remember this: you are not alone. It is okay to talk about feeling depressed or anxious. It is okay to not be okay. I hope things start to look up for you. Story 19. As someone who has been suffering from depression for 8 years, no, it does not. You need to come to terms with that. You will have lows and highs, but if you are chronically depressed, your choices may feel limited. Living life as a zombie on medication or coping with it. This does not apply to everyone, so hopefully your case is different. I recommend taking vitamin D and iron daily, as these can help with constant tiredness. Going to the gym a couple of times a week can also distract you from feeling terrible. Try not to push away people who care about you when you are depressed, because after a while they may stop caring and you could end up alone. If you are feeling lonely, try reaching out to a friend or colleague and be honest. I am having a hard time and could use a friend. Results may vary. Good luck. Story 20. I have read the original poster's comments in this thread. For some individuals, therapy does not always help. In fact, it can add to the frustration and feel like an exercise in futility. Trust yourself and others. People understand, or try to understand, the struggle you face every day and stand ready to be kind and helpful. Time, patience, and small steps are key to working through daily challenges. If therapy does not help, a positive attitude and determination to change things for the better may be reliable allies over time. Story 21. Honestly, everyone will give the politically correct answer that if you try, believe, and hope, it will get better. Don't forget that sometimes, even for very good people, it does not. Life can keep getting worse and feel meaningless, ending in little that is productive. Sometimes a person consumes a great deal of the world's resources without producing anything beneficial and may harm the world. Often they continue only because others would be sad if they were gone. Yes, this is reality whether you like it or not. Story 22. I am 40. Let me know when you figure it out, because I am just about done with all this. Story 23. I would say find a hobby. The most depressing times in my life were when all I did was go to school or work and watch television until I went to bed, then wake up and do the same. I am not saying television cannot be a hobby, but it was not mine. I started playing a phone game that hooked me and began cross-stitch. It gave me something to look forward to after the monotonous daily routine. I also looked into social groups like book clubs, sewing circles, a running club, and happy hour with coworkers. I dreaded going at first because I wanted to slip back into depression by staying home and watching trash television. but every time I went, I had an amazing time simply doing something different. The hobbies I kept were sort of mind-numbing and let my mind reset. That is how I learned to love myself and my alone time, and it finally pulled me out of the funk. Story 24. Not always. In my more than 40 years of experience, it has steadily gotten worse. I have spent most of my life completely friendless. You always hear people say to go to places where you will meet like-minded people, but that assumes these places exist, which they do not where I live and my social. Anxiety makes it a non-starter anyway. I have seen a number of psychologists over the last couple of decades who have all given up on me, and I have taken a variety of antidepressants, none of which helped. Now I just exist day to day and week to week, wondering how much longer I can keep going. Story 25. If you don't find your answer in this post, check AskReddit in 2 days. This question will be asked repeatedly. Story 26. Life does not get better. The only thing you can improve is yourself. By working with a therapist and focusing on personal growth, you can become strong and resilient, develop healthy coping skills, and continue to grow. Life may not change, but you can. Story 27. In my experience, yes and no. I went really downhill after a bad breakup about 4 years ago. I was in a mental space where I hated my job, my living situation, and my loneliness. I believed my ex was my only source of happiness and blamed her for how I felt. I drank a lot, begged her to take me back, and drank even more. I made peace with most of those demons but kept drinking, which contributed to losing my job. I did get better, but I am not as optimistic as I used to be. I drink less. I play in 2 bands and DJ often. Channeling my emotions into music has been a healthy and rewarding outlet. I have a new job where I feel valued and a relationship of 2 years with a supportive woman. I still struggle with trust and feel emotionally disconnected. I show up for friends, family, and my partner because I feel I should, not because I want to. I used to be warm. It feels like a switch was turned off and never turned back on. So I am better, but I doubt I will ever be the fun, warm, welcoming person I once was. I appear that way, but it is mostly a facade. Story 28. Not really. Can happen, but your most vivid years are often before 30. You can become more comfortable with life, if that is what you mean by best. Find bliss in solitude. There is a reason Taoist monks secluded themselves as hermits. It was not because they thought it was virtuous. Do not focus on being less alone. Focus on making the most of what you have. That does not mean accepting a miserable life. It means owning your life and realizing that you are doing exactly what you are here to do. Experiencing. The true point of life can be found only in the immediate moment. Many think that at some point life will just click. They will have a family, a spouse, a stable career, hobbies, and so on, and then they will be happy. That is not true. Life is not a journey toward a destination. You exist to experience. Learn to enjoy life now, not for the future. Tomorrow never comes. Recognize the blessing of being able to experience anything at all. I used to be quite stoic. It was numbing. I realized I do not want to skate through life. I want to feel its ups and downs, be broken and rebuilt, and surrender to the experience. You must determine what meaningful means to you. Meaning is constructed, you create it. You might have a relationship others view as dysfunctional or pointless, but if you create meaning in it, it becomes meaningful. There is no universal recipe for creating meaningful relationships. Only you know how to do it for yourself. Search deep within, you will find what it means. For practical advice, consider a therapist who offers supervised psychedelic-assisted therapy as part of a treatment plan. Can be transformative. Story 29. You can't go back and change the beginning, but you can start where you are and change the ending. Clive Staples Lewis. Story 30. I've always been blessed with good mental health, so please understand that while I can deeply empathize with people who have serious depression, my brother has struggled with it his entire life, and I have several other friends who grapple with it as well. My own experience has been limited. My life has had its share of ups and downs too, and I have hit bumps in the road. I have been deliberate about how I handle them. Here are some ways to address things when the future seems bleak. 0. Identify the source or sources of your emotional distress. Is it a bad relationship? A bad job? Or is reading the news upsetting you? Is it an overall sense of hopelessness? Naming some sources of your distress is important. Sometimes that is not easy. Self-reflection is hard. Sometimes it is not just one thing, and sometimes your brain chemistry is simply making things worse. Take the time to do an inventory first. 1. Frame your issues from above in context. An often given example is, will the things upsetting you matter in 10 days, 10 months, or 10 years? Sometimes the answer is yes to all three, but this can help put things in perspective. For things that will not matter in 10 days, sometimes you just have to muscle through. It is not going to last forever, so get through it. 4 things in the 10-week bracket, break them down and identify what you can do about them. Can you change the outcome? So work on it. If not, accept that it is outside your control and either move on or find a way to move away from it. For example, if it is a bad job and it will still be bad in 10 weeks, either start applying for a new job or come to terms with the fact that you do not like it. Acceptance of the negatives in your life is powerful. Things will never be perfect. Expecting everything to work out all the time is not realistic. For the 10-year issues, you will have to make lifestyle changes if you want to see a difference. They are hard to do, but slow and incremental progress pays dividends surprisingly quickly. To quote BoJack Horseman, it gets easier. Every day it gets a little easier, but you have to do it every day. That is the hard part, but it does get easier. 2. Remind yourself actively of the good in your life. No matter how bad things are, there is always some good. Sometimes you have to dig a bit, but it is there. Are you in good health? Do you have a stable roof over your head and food to eat? Do you have a good relationship with a friend, family member, or coworker? Do you have a stable income? Do you have a pet that you love? Do your electronics work? Make a list of things you are grateful for. Try to add something to it at least once a day if you are having trouble seeing the positive things in life. Even something as simple as having a warm interaction in the checkout line can get you through a tough day. You never know how a simple smile or a kind word might change someone else's day. Let yourself be that person sometimes. 3. Do kind things for others. I truly believe that putting positive energy into the world brings dividends. If you are being kind just because you want something back, that misses the point, but even self-interested acts of kindness can help. Genuinely trying to help someone else almost always makes me feel better. You have made the world a tiny bit brighter for someone, and that is worth a lot. Even when my own life was in the dumps, making a difference for someone else always helped me feel better. If you follow number 2, you might start noticing lots of tiny ways the world pays you back. Sometimes it is the extra item in your takeout. Sometimes it is a friend or a parent calling to check on you when you need someone to talk to. Sometimes it is a stranger holding the door and smiling. It is there. I have rambled on long enough, and I am probably too late for anyone to read this. But if one person finds it and it helps, it was worth it to me. Testament to number 3, I suppose. Story 31. It is really difficult to give you any valuable advice or opinion, given how little information you provided. If you are extremely depressed, then despite what other Reddit users wrote, I do not think exercise, a proper diet, and stopping negative thoughts will help you very much, even though exercise, diet, and thinking patterns are proven to impact mood. Proper medication and therapy are what you need. Chances are it will get better, but it will not happen overnight. Also, being depressed does not mean you are incapable of being in a relationship. Story 32. Learn to love yourself before you love someone else. It is not fair to depend 100% on another person for validation. Story 33. I do not know how old you are or what your interests are. If you have no one to talk to, you could try online gaming. It may sound silly, but it can be an easy way to make friends. You can start there and later meet people in real life. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.